following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Insider's Edge podcast here on the WZWA Network. I'm your host with the most on the West Coast, Karlifornia in theory. It's a joy, honor, and privilege to be with you all once again. And speaking of a joy, honor, and privilege, right here, right now, I get to speak to somebody who I think is one of the most interesting people that has been in the pro wrestling business. She has great perspectives and great stories from her time in wrestling. I can't wait to get some of them out from her. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the one, this is the only, this is the incomparable Jasmin St Claire. How are you?
Thank you. I'm relaxed. I went to a yoga class before, and there was this really weird sound bath after. So it was interesting, but it's a very Southern California thing to do.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Jasmin, usually every time I have someone on the show, I ask the same question every time to begin. When you were a young lady, how did you become a wrestling fan, if you did become a fan at that point?
My grandmother would watch it, and I'd hear her like yelling at the TV. It was so funny. Like, she was immersed in what was going on. What is that you're drinking that's green? Is that chlorophyll?
No, it's lime creaming soda. I'm a child.
I gotta get one of those. Yeah. So anywho, my grandmother was watching it. And in fact, she took me to my first show at Madison Square Garden with Jimmy Snuka. Then I used to watch Glow. I used to watch like Sherry Martel as well. And, I ended up working with her much later on in life. Same with Missy Hyatt. And I just thought it was really cool and theatrical. Then I went to my very first WrestleMania. It was Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior in Toronto at the Sky Dome. That was so many moons ago. And I have to tell you, it's like one of the greatest experiences ever. I still have my jacket from that event, along with a few other goodies. And, not to go off topic, but just because we're here and I do this quite a bit, unfortunately. So like a few months ago, are you allowed to curse?
Yes.
Yeah, there's some piece of shit. Like, I think he was homeless or crazy or both, but he was this freaking blob. He was wearing an Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan shirt from that damn pay-per-view. So it didn't really annoy me that he was blowing kisses at me or grabbed me. That's not what pissed me off the most. I got mad because he's wearing that shirt from the pay-per-view, like more than anything else. And I'm sure he stole it. I said, like what you do, even like, why are you wearing that? So yeah, that was that. Yeah, that was my experience wrestling. Sorry.
No, that's great. Wow, that must have been so amazing to see such a massive show at such an important time in wrestling. To see Hogan versus Warrior as well live, I just couldn't even imagine the energy in the arena. You know what I mean?
Well, whenever Hulk walks into anywhere, it's a certain energy. Because I worked with Jimmy Hart, I worked for XWF Wrestling as well. And I remember meeting Hulk. He was really a very nice person. I think he's really smart. I'm pretty sure he had endeavors. He had a lot of endeavors outside of wrestling. Rumor has it that he is the one that owns In-N-Out Burgers in California. I don't know if it's true or if someone just made up that urban myth because it's red and yellow. It's a good idea if he did, because it's so simple. It's the best burger, by the way.
Right, cool. Yeah, you over there, you all get so many different things over there. We just get like 5 things here in Australia. We only just got Taco Bell over here.
Yikes.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the recent things that's been going on before we go, to all the way back to 99 or wherever it is I'm headed. But recently with XPW, I've been loving the shows, and I've been so happy to see you and Veronica on the shows. It's really cool. So please tell me what it's been like getting back out there and being involved with Extreme Pro Wrestling.
I think it's awesome. I know that they are taking wrestling back to where it was in a way with extreme stuff, but they're also innovating new things, because there's some girls matches on their women's matches, like with Sexton Supreme, Camilla, Tanya Valkyrie, and some of those girls are really pretty and they're bleeding. They're getting color. I mean, they look like supermodels or just any girl you would see like in a fitness magazine that's a bombshell, but they're getting color and they're really working their asses off. So kudos to Rob Black for doing that. And this is something that WWE, I don't know if they will go there. I don't know if AEW will go there. I knew if ECW was still around, I'm pretty sure they'd go that way. But it's really exciting to be around everyone. I've met some really like new, interesting people. It was fun working with Veronica Caine. She and I never had the chance to work together like until now. I did get a little bit scared to throw a chair in her face, but she wanted it, so I gave it to her. I sound like a rapist. God. She wanted it, so I gave it to her. Damn it. Yeah. No, it was great. And I like working with Rob again. I think he's in a really different space now, and he knows one thing Rob is good at is creativity and being a genius in that respect. And I think he's learned, you know, what works, what doesn't work, and you know how things are going to go this time. So the first show was like 12 hours. It was his death match tournament. It was 12 hours. I don't know. I left like we left like at 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning. And it was really, really late. Some people saw me at the LAX Fan Fest and said the show went on till 4 in the morning, but those are die-hard loyal fans that are just as fucked in the head as we are to do this. Then this last show was late, and then I stayed around. I was helping Rob with some stuff, and I was saying goodbye to everyone and going home. Like home's like an hour from there when I'm in LA. So I was home, and then I went back to Pomona like the next day to see friends, because I had friends that went to the show. But I think he's really smart about what he's doing this time. And it's smart to have someone like Veronica Caine. I mean, you have managers once again, which is a great part of it, and the cat fights. And I actually have Singapore canes, so we'll see what happens. But the last show I was there helping, we were making weapons. I was with Veronica Caine and Big Joe and Eric, the referee. So it's just really a nice team effort. It reminds me sort of like when I was running 3PW, except I don't have the headaches. This time they're passed on to Rob. So yeah.
Very cool. And don't give anything away, but I'm hoping that you're going to be quite involved and you're going to be managing someone, and Veronica will be managing someone. Is that something that you think you're heading more towards? You're going to be managing someone?
100% for sure. Yeah. I mean, now we're just getting started back with things. And, you know, I told Rob that I do want to be involved full time. I'll make it out to some of the Rochester shows as well. And I'm glad that his wife is involved. Kat's awesome. So she's now learning commentating alongside Chris Kloss. And it's really a great dynamic, because he used to have that bleached hair back in the day when I used to tease him. I told him he looked like a duck. Maybe I was thinking of Missy Hyatt now. But I'd like to work with Missy again, despite like the crazy friendship we had. I met her when I worked at XPW, and she was gorgeous. You know, she had the long dark hair, the blue eyes, and she was really someone that I learned a lot of stuff from, aside from Francine. So like years ago, she gave Gene Simmons my phone number. This is Missy Hyatt. I just wanted him to sign some Kiss stuff I had. But next thing you know, I have this balding Jew, and I have nothing against that. My best friend is Jewish, or she married a Jewish guy. He's like calling me till 5 in the fucking morning, like asking me to hang out. I said, I don't think you got the right idea, Gene. I just wanted you to sign my albums. That is all I wanted. But then I ended up later on dating the guitarist. So yeah, but it was just really, so to that day, I didn't know if Missy was ribbing me or what she was doing. So like years later, I fucked with her. She was in Tampa. I called her. Well, I was not in Orlando like I told her I was. I mean, I wasn't in Fort Lauderdale like I told her. I was actually in like Texas or something. I said, listen, they need someone to work with me in an evening gang match tonight. And I ribbed her. She drove down there and I wasn't there. But we're friends. We're good. I think she's awesome. I think she'd be great to work with again. and she's super smart, and we share like a lot of the same views. I don't talk politics, but I could do it with her because it's like in a safe space. But I think she's a good person, and she's really she's smart, and she does a lot of really interesting things with her life now. But I'd really like to see more of her like getting involved. She'd be great to have. And I think maybe even if we can reach out to like the first XPW champ, Damian Steele, despite the huge falling out we had like in real life, it'll be nice to have him back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because I interviewed Chris Kloss recently, and he said he's been having a hard time being able to find Damian Steele anywhere. So who knows
Well,
what's going on with him at the moment? But
him. Well, yeah, that's another thing. But I mean, I he's another one. I feel like he could have had a lot more success in his career. He had a great look. He was very talented at what he did. He had all the makings of a superstar. Like there's so many people I hear these stories from that are wrestlers, like Dirty Ron McDonald, who's now a friend and coworker. And you hear these stories of when they've done so well on Raw or like in a dark match. It's like, okay, well, what happened next? Then you go into like Tough Enough. It's like I do acting as well, and I see casting calls for some reality show for wrestling, and it's WWE, and that's like the only side of the business I don't really like. I understand you want to give everyone a chance, but why not give people a chance that have been busting their asses? Like to me, the only real rock star that's a female there, like I like Thea, or what's a Viva Rose, what's her I know her by a real name, Thea Trinidad. What's her work name?
Queen Zelina. Zelina.
She's great. And the only like the rock star that I love there is Alicia Taylor on NXT. She's gorgeous. And I'm really glad that they're using her the right way, because I don't feel as though they used a lot of African American wrestlers the right way. I think they gave Jazz the short end of the stick
Oh,
for sure.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree
She'd be good in
100%.
XPW. I'd love to see Jazz show up and kick ass.
That would be awesome, definitely. It's really awesome things that are going on with XPW right now. I'm really enjoying the shows, and I'm looking forward very much to the next show, which is, I believe, it's taking place in August. It's I don't have the date written down here.
It's the 13th of August. It's called Night of Reckoning, and it's in Pomona, California.
Excellent. Thank you for helping me out there. But yes, looking forward to it very much. It's going to be a great show. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I wanted to bring it right back to the beginning of your time in pro wrestling, getting involved with ECW. I read that Bubba Ray was instrumental in getting Paul to give you a call. How was it, talking with Paul at that time and being brought in?
Paul's amazing. Like if it wasn't for Paul Heyman, I wouldn't have, been on ECW. It's really a weird combined effort. It was Rob Black who got me into ECW first. And then, like a bad wayward step kid, I just like wandered off and just didn't go back to XPW after a few shows. But Bubba, it was first Big Dick Dudley, and then he and I were really good friends outside of wrestling. In fact, I took him to the Gladiators audition, the Gladiators show with those idiots on there. I call them himbos. So like, I know I'm straying away, but I'm good at doing these stories and going back. So when we were hanging out all the time prior to him passing away, he had a Gladiators audition. So I took him down there. He ran around like literally body slamming these people. And they didn't invite him back. I don't know why. Like he's the real deal. So fast forward to about 4 years ago, I'm at a barbecue, and there's this woman like giving me a dirty look, and it was like a friend family type barbecue. I'm like, what is this bitch's problem? Like, do I have to put shit in her drink to like set her straight? So I walked over to her and I was nice. I introduced myself. She's like, yeah, I know who you are. Well, what did I do to you? Did I speak to your husband or something? Did I like do something bad? Did I, hit your car? Well, you were with that guy years ago in Gladiators. I'm like, yeah, he's a really good friend of mine. He actually passed away. He's like a big brother. What's your point? Well, I'm the one that produced that show. I'm like, why? Like, you support mediocrity. Well, I just wanted to give people who'd never been on TV before a chance. I'm like, well, there goes that. So that's a small world. So So Big Dick Dudley told me to call Bubba. Like he was going to reach out to Bubba and let him know that I still want to work there, which he did. So Paul Heyman was in LA. We met at the Rainbow Room, the Rainbow Bar and Grill. I remember that night distinctly. I was in my white shirt, my white Bob Guccione shirt, I call it, because it was like a pirate shirt, black leather pants, and we sat by the fireplace. I had my Chinese chicken salad and a glass of white wine and water, because that's what I eat when I go there. And Paul was there with Bubba, and we were talking about it. So he was serious. And, I was there. Next thing you know, I was between there. Nobody knows this. I was working in Tennessee for Memphis Championship Wrestling. So I worked with Jerry the King Lawler. I worked with the Cat at that time, who was amazing. She's so much fun to work with. And he was a lot of fun to work with because he works super well with talent, I think. And he knew how to help us like with our matches. And I was doing that. Like I was taking classes there, but that's how the whole thing happened. And I was taking classes. I was trained by an original Glow Girl because I could actually wrestle, but because of my size, I'll be used as a manager, and I'm fine with that.
Right. Is it
It's a
right?
lot.
You were being. Was it right that you were being helped when training with Sue Sexton? Is that the name?
Oh yeah, she's Australian, by the way.
Yes, I think she's from my
Yeah.
my city, Perth.
What city is that?
Yeah, Perth, Western
Yeah,
Australia, I
she's
believe.
from Perth. So she trained me outdoors in like the steaming heat in Calabasas, California, in an outdoor ring. I didn't know that taking like diuretics, um, like don't mix with like training outdoors and learning how to bump. So I learned real fast. Then I was training with Mondo Guerrero. He taught me a lot of like I could moonsault if I wanted to. I could do a lot of the same high flying stuff those guys do. So he taught me a lot. And then ring psychology, I picked up through Sherry Martel, through Francine. Like Francine did help me, to her credit. And like I learned a lot from Francine. I know she's not going through the best of times now. And I really hope like things pan out for her the way they should, because she's a good person and she's done a lot for women's wrestling in that respect. Like I watched the shows. I'd watch Beulah, I'd watch Francine, I'd watch all of them.
Yeah, they were all great. And
And woman, of
speaking,
course.
oh, of course, you
Yeah.
can't leave her out. She was,
So sad.
yes, absolutely, but she was wonderful. I want to talk about Living Dangerously. Now you've brought up Francine. Living Dangerously, March 21st, 99, Asbury Park Convention Center. Segment with Lance Wright. Um, you get attacked by Francine as well as being involved with the main event. That's quite the experience. You cut a great promo as well on the fans, which I loved. Please tell me about this moment in time.
So which promo? The one where I was topless in the hotel room with the Living Dangerously flag? Is that the promo you're talking about, or the promo in the ring?
The one in
Because
the
I think
ring.
that one was way better than the one in the ring. I'm just saying. um, so the promo I coordinated with Paul Heyman. And yes, once again, I will give credit where credit's due. Rob paid for my ticket to go out there. He flew out there with Tom Byron and this guy and Kevin Kleinrock. Kevin was really funny because he was sitting in the audience, like when we were warming up in the show, just for practice, like give me the middle finger, like really getting me going. And so the night before there was a wrestler meet and greet, but 2 weeks before that, I shot the hotel room segment. I met up with Paul Heyman and Harry Slash, and they shot it. The next thing you know, we're at a meet and greet in some bar in South Jersey. So I met like Chris Chetty, Danny Doring, Steve Carino. Like I met everyone. Then the next day, it's the pay per view. I had no idea what to expect. So you have like Spike Dudley, and you have to visualize him with his like his suspenders and all that on. And Devon, they were showing me how to take the Stone Cold, how to do a bump to your knee,
Yeah.
and like sell it. I was really scared in the ring because I suffer from stage fright. I still do, but yet I have no problem doing live theater. Um, and so, yeah, it was really weird. I didn't know what to do. You have all these people and it's a live event, so you have no room to screw up. Again, just like live theater, except you have grown men in their underwear and outfits wrestling around. And I just didn't know what to expect. I guess we got the reaction, but it was really a great turning point in my just my career in life, because the week after that, I was in Asbury Park, New Jersey, hosting the very first ever New Jersey Metal Fest when Sepultura came to the USA with the new singer. So I was introduced, so I was around heavy metal. So it's like, okay, cool. So this is where my life's going, into things I actually like. But it was great. And I really had fun learning the stuff before the ring. And that's what I learned later on with ECW. Like, if you're going to get put through a table, you'll know a few minutes before the match starts. If, someone's going to hit you, you'll know. And Paul will always ask, are you comfortable doing this? Sure, no problem. Yeah, right.
Awesome.
I was comfortable.
Cool. I believe you appear on the March 28th, 99 episode of Hardcore TV. Soon after this, I believe you were gone from ECW television for a while. What was the reason behind this start and stop during that time?
I answered it before. It begins with an X and it ends in a W and has a middle letter of P. So Rob started XPW.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
I don't know, why, but then what happened? So I was absent for about a few shows. Then I quit XPW and went straight to ECW, or we went right back at the beginning of the next year or the end of that year, later that year. And I did some of the house shows and so forth, but I wasn't working for Rob. We actually parted on some really fucked up terms. So for us to have reconnected the way we did, because he gets in his head so much when he's like talking and talking and like doing things. Then when it's the end of the night and the show's winding down, then things are just like, it's like, relaxed, Rob.
Right.
It's great though. I love his energy, but I don't know what time did the last show end? Do you remember? Like the first one, was it like 8 hours, that show, like for reals?
Yeah, I think that
Oh
ended up
shit.
giving Chris Kloss like the world record for the longest time being on commentary.
I don't
Uh,
think it's going to be this long as the last one. Even that one was long.
yeah, I think as the setup with all the death matches must have been what
Oh God.
was
Yeah. And then seeing Schlack's sock like bright red. I'm like, cool, he has red socks. Are you from Boston, Schlack? That's blood. Oh, okay.
unbelievable. Um, I want to ask you a little bit about Nicole Bass.
Oh
May
yeah.
she rest in peace. I know you got to work with her as well. How did you feel working with Nicole and wrestling her?
Well, honestly, I felt really sad for her sometimes. She was really fun. I remember going out after a few shows to eat with her, and there are these guys looking at me and they were saying stuff, and she got up, are you saying something to my girlfriend?
Awesome.
But I felt bad for her. I felt like her husband, um, I think he, in a way, he was like his own version of a suitcase pimp. Do you know what a suitcase pimp is?
No.
Well, so for listeners or viewers, like whatever you do, a suitcase pimp is this. It is a man that lives off a woman, but promotes her career like so much, but is doing it strictly for the financial gain. And he doesn't really give two fucks about her at the end of the day. And he will wear her to the bone. A lot of girls in the adult film business have this, you know. Then if you ever saw the movie Star 80 with Eric Roberts and I think it was Muriel Hemingway, it's based upon that tragedy with Dorothy Stratton. That's a suitcase pimp. So I just remembered he would be there. He was really nice and just overly, it's like, what's your fucking purpose again? Like, I was nice to him out of respect to Nicole. When she gave me a power slam, she fucked up my ribs pretty bad. Then she was like straddling me like right across, like with her legs over me. Are you okay? I'm like, just get the fuck off of me. And we didn't talk for like a few days, but everything was fine after. It's really sad she died. It doesn't surprise me, but I feel as though there was so much to her, more to her than people gave her credit for. And she was great in ECW. She's great in XPW. She was great wherever she went.
Right, cool. Well, thanks for talking a little bit about her because I just kind of feel like no one knows the real her. No one ever got to like the world, the fans never really got to know more about her. It was always like they just see the character or the performer. Again, I wanted to bring back some ECW talk. Heatwave 2000 is what I want to ask you about because I've asked like 12 ECW, 13 ECW people. I've asked 4 people from XPW. Were you there at Heatwave 2000? And what do you remember from your perspective when all the drama went down?
Je ne parle pas anglais. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Je ne comprends pas. No, of course I was there. Yeah, I was. I was there, of course. Like we all were. I just remember like walking around the Olympic Auditorium earlier that day for the show. And like I was in my own bubble. I was hanging out with my friends. Like Francine was there. Um, my friend Shannon. Then I was hanging out with Gorgeous George. Everything seemed normal. Then I find out that like the XPW wrestlers are there. And at that point, I didn't have a good relationship. I'm like, okay, they're up to something. I put everyone on alert. Yeah. They started something first. Someone spat in Christie's face, and rightfully so, because I think like she was a porn chick. She didn't know the respect of wrestling and everything else that went with it. You know, she just did as she was told, which is great. You're a good sport for that. I don't know whatever happened to her afterwards, but I know someone did spit in her face for doing that. And it was just our way of saying, hey, you know, we're running a show here. You can't do that shit. We don't care if like people fly, or we don't care if people fly our shows. Everyone does it, but you just don't do that to detract from like what's going on in the ring. It was disrespectful. And maybe there was some kind of like a thing it wasn't pre-planned with Paul Heyman. We were like legitimately mad, and those were legitimate punches being thrown. The late great Supreme was involved. And he was actually a really nice person, by the way. He did a lot. His body did quite a bit for the business. He did quite a bit for everyone, and it was sad, you know, now knowing like what happened. I remember getting into a fight with Chris Kloss the next night. I was online and I cursed him off or something. When AOL was a thing.
Oh, right, of course. Is that AOL Instant Messenger?
Yeah, I forgot. Like, what was my AOL? I forgot.
Yeah, there's a few things. ICQ and MSN Messenger. I know I use them. It's been a
I
long
just get
time.
on the phone. Yeah,
Yeah.
fuck you, asshole. That's what I do.
uh, when you're in ECW and XPW during these days, who were the people that you became best friends with? You know, aside from like a Big Dick Dudley, were there any other people that you became close friends with?
Wow. Clearly I'm not friends with the Blue Meanie anymore after he gave me like 18 stitches to my head. Um, I was really good friends with Francine at one point, and you know, that went sour after a while. It was really sad. You know, I'm sure, I don't know how things are now. I always wish her well whenever I see her post something about her health updates, because I genuinely mean that. Kid Cash for sure. He was really a smart person, and I worked with him afterwards in other places as well. Pitbulls, Jazz, George and I were really tight for a while, and then I think she got married, and then we are still pretty tight. Then she's like, I ran into her again in Texas a few years ago. She was a different person, you know. And you know, even though New Jack and I had our words, we were always like doing goofy things, making fun of Fat Albert and stuff. Hey, hey, hey. So it was just that whole batch of people after. And, you know, I really appreciate, and you know who you are, one of the ECW wrestlers who got kind of upset finding out that the guy was, you know, dating at the time was beating me. But the thing is, you don't bring that drama into a ring, okay? Because you're there crossing over into a big opportunity, right? So you shut your mouth and do your job, and do not bring that drama there. And I know people bring drama there. You just can't do that shit. Case closed. Like I tell people this all the time. This is why I have like zero respect for people, like people that are dating that have a business that cannot fucking run a business together. You know, you got to be a CEO of your life before you're the CEO of whatever else you're doing in life. And if you cannot do that shit, then you are not professional. No matter what is, I don't care if someone holds a goddamn gun to your head the night before, you get up and you do business the next day, unless they pull the trigger or something. I guess. Yeah. Missy Hyatt, obviously. Because I could call her tomorrow and like we could just talk like nothing really, you know, went on or like nothing, no days passed. April Hunter is another awesome human being, by the way. And I feel as though there's so much, you have these things like AEW, like, hello, it's like they're not using the talent that should be, why isn't April there? Hello. Like, even though you have oldies but goodies in this business, I mean, there's some people that are classic that still have some impact and following in it. So that's just one thing. It just reminds me of like the old WCW in a way, to a degree.
Right. Yeah, I've always felt like every company has dropped the ball with April Hunter. I don't understand how. I just
She's
don't
great.
understand.
It's
She,
her, like Jazz is another good one.
yeah,
Rob really got lucky getting the girls we have there. He's like Camille and Tanya. Tanya's like a showboat, and Camille is just amazing. And I feel like the
yeah.
branding's building up, and now we have a need for extreme wrestling. So I'm curious to know what we're gonna do during the winter time, because I don't know if outdoor shows are gonna be a thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that's going to be a little tough there at the there in Pomona. I want to ask you a little bit about Rhino and the middle rope pile driver. You took
Yes.
one of these, didn't you? I haven't had the chance to talk to anyone else who's taken one of these, so I thought take the time to ask you. This must
Thanks.
have been a little scary. I mean, Christ Almighty, a middle rope pile driver. What? Just tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Well, first of all, for people listening, the pile driver off the top rope it was off the top rope. That is outlawed now. I think it was outlawed shortly after I did that. I didn't know what we were gonna do, and Paul just said, "Oh, well, do you could do we had the whole spot worked out." It was actually the first time I ever took that was at a house show. And was it with Chili Willy that he was working? I forgot who it was. It was Chili Willy or someone else. But that was through the table that time, I think. And I remember he told me what was going to happen. And he's like, just spring up into a handstand. He will hold your weight, your legs, and bam, down. And of course, when you take a bump, you always have to tuck your chin.
Mm.
So these are big guys. These are 300-400 pound guys. And like, it's timing. Like, I don't care what anyone says, timing is everything. And you don't know if like these guys have the slippery stuff on them to look great, when they go into the ring. Plus, you have all the lights, they're sweating. So are my hands gonna slip? I dug my nails into his legs like a cat with dare life, like, please. So Paul's like, "Are you comfortable with this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And before you know it, like everything's broken. And those are real tables they break in ECW and XPW. It's not like WWE where they perforate it a little bit. So it's all nice and half broken and cute. Yeah. So it was, yeah. I just kind of go with things, it's just you just go with the flow of things, and that's that, que sera, sera. And and if shit happens, you go down. Oh well, you went out in yeah. However it is, or whatever the term is, you go out with
A
a
blaze of
bang,
glory,
so to speak. What?
a blaze of glory, maybe.
Yeah, and I've worked with. I mean, I work with so many of these guys doing so many of this, whatever, taking supernovas. What was that he would do? The star draw, whatever it was, like that. Then Balls Mahoney and a Nutcracker sweep. Then get doing this when I was in Memphis working. It was what were they called? The Bull Pain. That was his name, Bull Pain.
Oh, right.
He actually gave me a suplex off the top rope, and that's like we're both like he's on the middle rope or wherever he was on the top rope, but that still feels like the top rope to someone that's like 5'7" and like 108 pounds. He's up there holding you, and like he held me there like this. I'm like, okay. Then all of a sudden, you just go back.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. There's really no training for this except to tuck your chin and just don't be fucked up in the ring.
Absolutely, Jasmine. Wanted to ask you a little bit about the experience with the XWF and working with the Public Enemy there.
Oh, poor things. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was important to bring that up because I've got the DVD of all those lost episodes that they call it. What was the experience like
You?
working with him there?
I got to get one of those DVDs. How come I don't have one?
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you have any way to like transfer that to me via internet, that would be much appreciated. Well, I knew Rocco already. I knew them already, but I became closer friends with them, especially Rocco before he passed away. And they're really fun guys to work with. And they just were very grateful to be there more than anything else and have the opportunity. They didn't feel as though it was like that we're not worthy, but they were, they're just grateful to have another opportunity to do something cool. And they fit into their gimmicks really fast. And we worked really well together with the promos. We had this one promo we shot in like a Jurassic Park ride, inside of the ride, or the King Kong ride. And we had to, like, they had us go in it a few times. They were starting to let like the general public in, and people were like, okay, what are they doing? So, but it was a nice weekend, and they really treated everyone super well. I was hanging out with Kid Cash a lot then, so we were going out to eat, and it gave me a lot of like advice and stuff and tips. Then also Road Warriors, they were really cool to work with. I love Jimmy Hart. Like he's a grade A human being, you know. He's a
Yeah.
class act. And Hogan and just all the guys that were there. It was like some sort of, I felt as though I was like in a memory lane or history. Then you see Craig Valentine, but you see a lot of these guys too pop back up on the circuit of these wrestling events, or the signings and so forth. And it's really lovely.
Yeah, that must be fun going to some of those conventions and seeing everybody all in one place at one time again. Um,
Yeah.
have you been doing that a lot in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I just was at LAX Fan Fest, and then I'm doing one in New York as well. I do a lot of my East Coast signings with Damage 365 Promotions. Kevin books all my stuff. He's been a complete doll. Like last year I had an issue showing up, so I kind of own one on this, but besides that I felt really bad. And it's weird because like Sunny was on that same event last year, and before she got locked up or wherever she is, and she's like, I wonder if Jasmine is okay. Like, is she okay? I'm like, why the fuck would anyone think like I may go off sometimes, but I don't go, like that. Like, I'm going to go do something.
Right. I guess I should ask you a little bit about 3PW, because you ran it for a few years and you're a promoter there. Um, I want to know what the most rewarding and also the most difficult aspect of that job is. 'Cause I know the difficult will probably outweigh the rewarding. But please tell me a little bit about that.
Okay. So that was a great opportunity. It was just cool. It was something to do. Um, I think I just got fed up with, you know, guys in singlets with egos like arguing over the most trivial things, you know, and just like some of the shit that went along with it. I do know that it was XPW trying to run against us one night and they decided not to because they were going to run against us. I just didn't want to deal with like a lot of the bullshit after, like with this promotion's running, that's promotion. I'm like, am I really dealing with people that have the IQ of a fucking doorknob? Like, I don't want to deal with this shit. So, contrary to popular belief, it was my company, not the Blue Meanies, because that is a person who is not the brightest human being in the world, but he's very talented in the ring and, jiggling around or whatever he does, wallop. So, with that said, I just got, I had other interests out there that I pursued an opportunity, and I was just sick of everything. And then truth of the matter behind that, with God as my witness, and may lightning strike me right now, not because the weather is kind of weird, but the thing is, the other reason was I just got sick of dealing with him as well, because he'd hit me again and I was still running a fucking business like a CEO would.
Right.
So with that said, I had set up a deal with DGD Distribution, which is great. I made some great contacts there. They put out those bum fight videos as well back in that day. Then I had a great connection in England, and the show was on Sky TV. So
Right.
that was a really great deal. And I liked having all the footage. And, I eventually sold the footage because I just had no use for it. And it was a lot of fun, like working with people and giving people that work that they wanted. And, and it was cool working with Todd Gordon.
Yeah.
And, it was nice getting to meet X-Pac. And X-Pac was quite a showboat. He was a true professional. Like everyone there was a true professional. I've had a few things here and there, like a few glitches here and there. But I mean, this is one thing, like I told Rob, is I know how to run a back locker room like that. And you don't want people back there, just tell me. I will tell them to get the fuck out. Because I did that. I was that person. Like if you're not back there, you need to just go
Yeah.
and shut your camera off and get the fuck out. And just delete whatever you're taping.
Yeah.
So I would do so. I had a street team. So it's like when it comes to XPW, I never have a hard time asking Rob what he needs help with
Yeah.
and setting the logistics up so people are there like on time, because some people didn't show up to help him the last time that were supposed to be there. It's like, okay, so what was the excuse? We're at the beach, or are they fucking off? Because that's someone you may not be able to trust again. You give them a second chance. Maybe they'll be there, maybe they won't. But I had a pretty tight-knit group of people that were there. It was fun.
Cool. Yeah, I wish I lived over there so I could come help out for the XPW
We get the
shows.
DVDs. Oh, Ruckus was a lot of fun to work with, and
Oh, yeah.
Nana, all those guys. They were so much fun. Yeah.
Cool, cool. I wanted to ask you your thoughts on women's wrestling today. A lot has changed from back in 1999 to now. Things are completely different. What are your thoughts on the whole landscape of women's wrestling?
Real women or women that are transitioning? Like, what do you like? I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be a wise ass. I'm just asking because there are people out there that mistake women's swimming for a man who cut his dick off and grew his hair and changes his name to a woman. So I want to know, do you mean real women's wrestling, or I'm just asking?
I'm talking about real women's wrestling.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. No, I'm sorry. I just have to ask. Um, so I feel as though Rob does it the right way, where it's part of the show and not the whole show. I feel as though WWE has made it into too much of the show. I think we need to go back about 10 years. And I'm not saying this as a misogynistic person. I'm just going realistically. We need to go back about 10, 15 years to like the Attitude Era in WWE, and maybe a couple more ahead of that, a couple more years ahead. But I just think it's too much. I think it's great that they have girls that they're developing into these great like performers and they're doing amazing things, but it's too much of the show. And when you start putting an emphasis on this whole, feminist agenda, it really it takes away from the fun, because we've got to be PC and have this whole like feminist agenda. Feminist is, it's like, come on, guys, like let's get off of that. It's entertainment. This is an entertainment product you're putting out there. Let's go back out there and entertain. And that's really that's really how I feel. I have not watched much AEW, but I think they have the right formula to it.
Right. That's an interesting
And I'm glad
perspective.
Rob does it the way he does. And plus, the girls work their asses off. Those are real wrestlers doing shit for Rob. And, not to discredit some of my friends at, WWE, like Zelina and Alicia, who are amazing, really great wrestlers, and some of the other girls there. But, I just think they're doing it too much there.
I
And it doesn't give
understand.
enough time to certain girls. Like the girls that are there, like they should be getting more time, just handpick, be more choosy.
Right. I think it's interesting that you say that, because like I've always kind of thought like, what's wrong with being sexy? What's wrong with like being proud of your body and showing it off and having people admire that you are a sexy person? It feels like that it's starting to get to a point where it's like it's not okay. I don't understand. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sex and violence sell, and that's really the truth. So if you think about it, like when you watch those ridiculous B movies, or like in Italy back in the 70s, they had a term for a movie called giallo, which means yellow. And they would sell these movies in a yellow paper bag. They were like horror films, but super well done. Um, very well written, very well done, and beautifully done, because the women there dressed like women. They weren't in their sweats, and they had their hair and makeup done. They were beautiful. And but there was some degree of violence. Now, it's a movie, by the way, guys. It's not real life. So this is a wrestling ring. It's a show. It's not how can I put it? It's not, I mean, it could be real life if you don't like someone, but there's nothing wrong with being sexy. I mean, there's this icon in LA named Angeline who had these billboards in the 90s, right? She's this big chested woman with the big blonde hair. And all of a sudden, it's like she somehow is resurfaced in a way. I don't know if you're looking her up. There is like a whole documentary on her. But this is when women weren't afraid to do that. And I feel like it's slowly coming back somehow. You know, like I do wear tighter, I do wear, you know, some outfits that may be a little bit tight to go in the ring. But that's what it was, you know, and that's what I fit into. And I feel comfortable doing that. Would I go dressed like I would when I was 18 or 19? Probably not, because I was just wearing jeans and baseball jerseys then. But I do see some women, even in LA or even in Europe, that they don't always dress age appropriate, but when they do it nicely. Like there's this gorgeous woman today. She was outside. Where were we eating? Oh, so she had this like dress on. It was like a fuchsia color, but she had a beautiful body. Her hair was all done. She had nice shades and big earrings. Like she could get away with that. Like when you have the right accessories, you can get away with anything. So getting back to this, so with the women, yes, you can go back into the ring with your short little skirts and your heels, and it's not demeaning. It's not sexualizing anything. And if you think about it, this is why a lot of TV programs in America have gone stale, because they lack the sexuality that so many things had before. If that makes any sense whatsoever in my crazy rants.
No, it does. I think it really does make sense. And, sex and violence does sell. That's why the Attitude Era was the highest ratings in history. There you go. It's proof in the pudding.
Yeah, but what about that whole Me Too thing with Vince McMahon? I mean, I think there should be like a statute of limitations on sexual harassment, because if someone really sexually harassed you and it really traumatized you, then why didn't you say anything 15 fucking years ago? And I'm not trying to shame any victims or whatever, but this whole victimhood mentality has become a trend. I know real victims and I know people that think they're victims. Real victims go through surviving in life and become survivors of something and build something really awesome with themselves after.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel the Vince situation. It's like I think he had these relationships with women, but he always wanted everyone to just think that him and Linda were married. But I don't think they've been together for a long time. So I think maybe he made them sign stuff so that they wouldn't tell anybody that he had these affairs or whatever. I don't know. It's all a bit weird.
We'll see. I mean, it's called an NDA. And when people, regardless of who you are, if you dishonor an NDA, whether you are a man or a woman, you set business back doing with whatever your gender is by 50 years or more, because it just shows you cannot take people's word sometimes.
Exactly. Something else just popped in my mind. I believe that you were really good friends with Lemmy.
Yeah, he died actually.
Yes, I just realized I've
Oh, let me see that.
I had the book right here, and I looked at it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember that book. Yeah,
while we were talking, I was like, oh, yeah, I better ask about Lemmy. I just
Did he sign it?
there. No, I never got the chance to meet him, unfortunately. But
really?
Yeah. But yeah, what was it like being friends with Lemmy? Because I think
I met him at the Rainbow Bar and Grill. So like I knew who he was. And that's like a place you hear about. And I grew up in New York City, so being out in LA, like looking at that, it's really so surreal, because you see everyone there like you grew up listening to. And I wanted to meet him. At the time, I was friends with Ron Jeremy. I never worked with Ron Jeremy, just so you know, in a mainstream film like once, but that's it. The thing is, like so he introduced me to him. Then a couple days later, You know, we were out hanging out there, and then like even years later when Kid Rock wanted me to be in a video or something, Kid Rock was nice, but like he's sitting at the front booth at the Rainbow with his sideshow bimbos. That's what I call them. And then he told the waitress, because I was at a booth myself just waiting for Lemmy to come in. He's like, "Oh, can you see if she wants to join us?" So the waitress comes over. Yeah, well, Kid Rock wants to know if you'd like to join him. I said, well, you could tell Kid Rock. He could ask me himself. I said, actually, I don't, because I'm not going to lower my IQ to sit there with those people. I said, just tell them I'm waiting for Lemmy. So, yeah, I mean, that's as legit as any other reason. It's like you say you're waiting for fucking God. I mean, you're waiting for God. So, hello. Yeah, no, I don't think so. But he's a very interesting person. He wasn't racist. He collected a lot of Nazi memorabilia.
Yeah.
I have some of those things that he gave me. We went to like gun shows. We went to a few sword shows as well, because I like guns, and you know, he had quite a collection. He'd watch like Nazi black and white movies late at night, but it just history is what we were watching. I don't want to get anyone canceled. It is a part of history. So exactly when you start like not having certain programs on TV, ripping down fucking structures and statues that are part of history, there is no story to tell except whatever bullshit PC crap you're trying to do. Yes, there's been racism in the past. That's so many years ago. Whew. Yes, there's been this, there's been that, but now you're canceling history. Just like that whole Aunt Jemima pancake thing. She was the first African American woman to die a millionaire, and her family was proud of that. But yet they pull her off like a box of pancakes. It looks boring now. I boycott like that whole thing.
I agree 100%. That's one thing that drives me the most crazy, is that if you delete things and if you hide them, then how can we learn from them? How can we learn from history if you have to pretend that it never happened? It did happen. Things did happen. I don't think it's right to block things out or say that there's this book that is a very famous book from hundreds of years ago, that then they think, oh, well, some of the things that they said in this book are racist or something like that. But that was of the time. That's the way that people wrote or whatever. You can't just burn all the books and pretend it never existed. It's a thing. We learn from that now.
That's true, but then also trying to change a history book. If you really look up the history of slaves, for example, like Confederate soldiers were fighting to release slaves. So they weren't there like doing this or doing that. And I just feel like there's a whole narrative that if you're not loud and whiny about it, people will come down on you and say, well, you're not going with this or that, you know. And mark my words, it's gonna change at some point, because you cannot teach a history class without there being history. So I think it's just as traumatizing, you know, going to school in Europe and learning European history. I had this history teacher. He had one eye this way and one eye that way. I thought like he couldn't see us passing notes. I was so wrong. But you're learning about the decapitating women in this whole thing. And it, you know, we had class trips to the Tower of London and to like all these places. But yeah, it's history is a super important part of everything, even wrestling history, even all the dark, really horrible things that have happened in the past, such as the deaths. And maybe people will learn from them. You know, Chris Benoit, for example, you know, I don't think that the emotional and physical health of the wrestlers is taken seriously enough. Maybe he needed a few weeks off, because his finishing move, like, like basically landing on your head. What do you think that does if you don't get that taken care of or take a couple weeks off? You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a whole big debate that can take place there about all of that. But I want to get back to talking about you. Only a couple more questions here, Jasmin. Thank you again for your time.
No, thank you for being patient.
No, of course, no problem. What the hell was I thinking? Confessions of the World's Most Controversial Sex Symbol. It's been 12 years since that came out. Will there be a sequel? Will there be another book?
That thing. Oh, that wasn't even that book. Whew, that book was written by a proven liar.
Oh, right.
He like he took interviews with me. I don't know who that person is that wrote that. So it's not really a book. We don't really discuss that. We don't really like push that book. It just like it comes into my whole cosmic fear, this whole sphere of my cosmic well-being. And it just, It's nothing. It's not really. There's not much there. All that person did was he took stories. He interviewed me briefly, but he didn't really release a book. So,
Okay.
woo, yes,
Right.
yeah. So that's nothing. The book that will come out is called A Weird Kind of Fame, based upon
Okay.
my one woman show, which should be in Australia one day. And then obviously my podcast, which has some of the stories, but I interview a lot of people on there and we talk about a lot of things. So some stories come out, sometimes they don't.
Right. Okay, cool. So my research can be
No, it's
flawed
okay. Don't worry.
sometimes.
I'm not mad. You're allowed to put the cosmic spheric and my Angeline woo at
Well,
the
we'll put
end.
it all out there right now. Everybody, that book that I first mentioned, don't buy it. No point reading it. All bullshit. Let's worry about the one that will be coming
Yeah.
out,
I don't know
and
who
we'll
that person is.
yeah. We'll worry about the one that you're going to be putting out very soon. So
Yeah.
that should be exciting, and things more exciting things are on the horizon for you. You're still going to be working with XPW. Is there anything else going on in Jasmin St Claire's world that you'd like to let everyone know about?
Yeah. So I have my own podcast that drops every Wednesday called Crazy Train with Jasmin St Claire. It's crazy with a K. And if you rate and review it, I send you free gift bags, which I've done, but definitely catch up. There are lots of episodes. I think I'm like 50 something episodes deep. Then I'll be setting up the YouTube station. So there are going to be interviews on there that have not been on the podcast. And there'll also be a lot of video interviews as well. But the videos for the interviews go on there as well. So I just started editing those. It's a really tough thing being the CEO of your own brand, but this is like all I know. Whew.
Very cool. And all of those things that you just mentioned, Jasmin, we're going to have that right in the description on YouTube when this goes out live in maybe a week or so. Um, right, Jasmin St. Claire, it is time to get to the final segment of the show. It's
Yes.
called 5 Second Frenzy. 5 seconds to answer each question. Even if you break the 5 seconds, there's nothing I can do about it. You can't get in trouble. So it's all good. First question here. Who is your favorite professional wrestler of all time?
The Ultimate Warrior.
Excellent. Do you have a favorite adversary or opponent that you would go against in your time of pro wrestling?
Missy Hyatt.
Fantastic choice. Out of all the matches that you had that you participated in, do you have one that's the favorite one that you participated in?
Sherry Martel and myself and Doink the Clown and some other wrestler.
That sounds incredible. Moving away from wrestling now, favorite book?
Catcher in the Rye and Weeklo by Albert Camus.
Very nice. Favorite TV show?
Sorry, no, not Weeklo. Sorry, No Exit by not No Exit. Sorry, L'étranger by Albert Camus and Weeklo is my other favorite book. My favorite what?
Favorite TV show?
Anything in England or Netflix from Europe. Anything by Harlan Coben.
Very nice. Do you have a favorite film?
River's Edge.
Cool. Music is a big part of your life. Do you have a favorite musical artist or band?
Suffocation, Cannibal Corpse, Merciful Fate, King Diamond, and Dimmu Borgir.
Very good. You like the real heavy stuff. Have you ever been to the Wacken Heavy Metal Festival in Germany?
Yeah.
Me too. I went in
Many
2019.
times.
Probably the best thing I ever did. Um, Moving away from the arts now, Jasmin, favorite food?
Anything. I'm not vegan.
Good choice. Favorite place to eat on the road?
Cracker Barrel.
Well, that's three in a row now. I think Francine, RVD, and now you have chosen Cracker Barrel's favorite place to eat on the road. Very nice. Favorite alcoholic beverage, or if you don't drink, just your favorite beverage in general.
Champagne.
Very nice. Second last one here, Jasmin. Favorite male body part. You see a good looking guy. Where will your eyes go to first when you're checking out a guy?
His fucking belly.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, because you got to look at people's belly.
Interesting answer. I've never had
Shallow.
that. And the last one, Jasmin. Favorite curse word?
Cunt.
Oh, fantastic answer. You see
I
in
call people a
Australia.
cunt all the time, and I say it loudly in the street, and I get these really dirty looks, and I have no idea.
It's crazy over there because a lot of people they go crazy when they hear someone.
Ears, you
But over
fucking
here,
cunt.
you say cunt all the time over here.
It's like cunt all the time, just like that. You cunt, you stupid cunt. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Jasmin St Claire, this has been so much fun getting the chance to know you, hearing some great stories of your life and your perspective on things. That's why I knew this was going to be a fun interview. Thank you so much for your time. And I just hope that you're so proud of everything that you've accomplished in your life. You've done so many interesting things. And all the way here from Perth, Western Australia. A lot of love coming your way, my friend.
Oh, thank you. And hopefully I'll make it back to Australia for Dragon Con or for the one woman show. But in the meantime, tune into my podcast every Wednesday, Crazy Train with Jasmin St Claire, crazy with a K. Thank you for having me and being so patient.
No problem, Jasmin. Thank you so much. And thank all of you out there for joining us here on the Insider's Edge podcast. I'm Karlifornia. This is my new friend, Jasmin St Claire, and we will see you down the road. Thank you.